There was something in the light of that night that did not belong to this world. A frequency that vibrated first in my bones, then in my awareness. The clock on my bedside table showed exactly 3:33 in the morning when the first cipher of the universal code of money appeared, floating above my bed. It was a pulsating golden symbol, a living piece of geometry that emitted a sound impossible to describe with human words. And what if I told you that prosperity was never about earning, but about allowing? My name is Pedro Navarro. I'm 47 years old, and before that encounter, I was just another bankrupt man trying to pretend he still had control of his own life. The thin, stained walls of my small rented apartment were the silent witnesses to my decline. They watched over countless nights of insomnia as I stared at spreadsheets, the numbers of my debts swimming before my tired eyes. It was a figure that had surpassed $380,000, a number that had become a living entity, a weight that sat on my chest from the moment I woke up until the exhausted moment I finally passed out. The bank had given me its final ultimatum. The mortgage on the small house I had dreamed of leaving to my children, the one last pillar of my old life, was about to be pulled out from under me. In 3 weeks, I would lose everything that remained. That very morning, the phone had rung with a familiar, dreaded number. The bank manager's voice was cold, procedural, a perfectly modulated tone that held no space for human struggle. "Mr. Navarro," she'd said, "we need a definitive position by Friday, or we will begin foreclosure proceedings." I hung up without a word. My hand felt heavy as I placed the receiver down. The silence that followed was deafening. My gaze drifted to the only photograph on my cluttered desk. It was of my ex-wife, Sarah, and our 2 children, Leo and Mia. It was taken on a sunny afternoon in a park, a time before the divorce, before the business I'd poured my soul into had collapsed, before I had become this hollowed-out, frayed version of myself. The man in that photo was smiling, his eyes bright with a future he believed in. He was a ghost, a stranger to the man now sitting in this dim, dusty room. "Money always slips through my fingers," I murmured to myself. The words were automatic, a scar on my mind worn deep by repetition. I spoke them as I scooped the cheapest brand of instant coffee into a chipped mug, the bitter powder a perfect symbol for my life. This phrase wasn't just a thought. It was my operating system, the core code of my reality. It was a silent prayer to the god of scarcity, and it was answered every single day. I lived with the gnawing, constant sensation that I was missing something fundamental. It felt as if everyone else on the planet had been handed a secret instruction manual at birth, a guide on how to build, how to grow, how to prosper, and my copy had simply gotten lost in the mail. I saw people effortlessly navigating a world that, for me, was a relentless battle for survival. They spoke a language of ease I couldn't understand. I felt utterly alone in that struggle. And perhaps you, watching this, know that feeling too. I'm just beginning to share this story, and if it resonates, every subscription helps this channel find the people who might need to hear it most. It helps me to know I'm not just speaking into the void again. So please, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Later that day, I put on a shirt that was clean but worn at the collar and walked to a job interview I knew I wouldn't get. My posture was stooped, my shoulders tight, with the expectation of rejection. The city felt hostile. The roar of traffic, the indifferent faces in the crowd, the cold glass of the skyscrapers, it all seemed to scream a single word: failure. On my way, a brief rain shower had left puddles on the broken sidewalk. As I stepped over one, I caught my reflection and paused. But it wasn't my face I saw. For a split second, the murky water showed not my tired, unshaven features, but a version of myself that was luminous, serene. His eyes held a quiet power, his posture a sense of effortless peace. I shook my head, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was just the stress, I told myself. A trick of the light on the water, a symptom of a mind pushed to its absolute limits. But it was only the beginning. It was the first crack in the prison of my reality. It was on the third consecutive night of total sleeplessness that everything changed. The battle with my anxious thoughts had worn me down to a state of raw, surrendered exhaustion. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when the shift began. It started not with a sound, but with a change in the very substance of the room. The air grew thick, heavy. It felt as if the pressure had suddenly increased, becoming dense and almost viscous, like moving through cool water. A deep, impossible cold leached the warmth from the room, and I shivered violently, pulling the thin blanket tighter around my shoulders. I could see my own breath misting in front of my face, a small, pale cloud in the darkness. Then came the hum. It wasn't a sound my ears heard, but one my body registered. It started as a low vibration in the floorboards, climbing up through the legs of the bed until my own bones seemed to resonate with it. The frequency grew steadily, a deep, resonant tone that settled in my sternum, making my whole chest feel like a tuning fork that had just been struck. My heart, which had been racing with anxiety, was now forced to beat in time with this powerful, rhythmic vibration. And then there was light. It didn't come from the window or the door. It didn't have a source. The light simply bled into existence from nowhere, filling the entire room. It was a silver-blue glow, like moonlight filtered through 1,000 feet of deep ocean water. It didn't cast shadows. It absorbed them, transforming my small, grim apartment into a space that felt sacred and infinite. Within this impossible luminescence, a form began to define itself. It was a slow materialization, first a subtle distortion in the light, then a dark silhouette against the glow, and finally, a being of impossible grace stood before me. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, its body was slender, with proportions that were subtly elongated, as if stretched by a gentler gravity. What I took for skin was not solid matter, but a translucent surface that emitted its own soft light, shifting between waves of deep cobalt and liquid gold. Intricate, geometric patterns drifted just beneath its surface, like thoughts made visible. But it was the eyes that held me captive. They were large, almond-shaped, and held no pupils. Instead, they were swirling pools of deep space, containing patterns that looked like distant galaxies, nebulae, and the birth of stars. These eyes did not look at me. They looked into me. I felt seen, not just as I was in that moment, but across the entire span of my life. I tried to scream. The sound died in my throat. I tried to run. My limbs would not respond. My entire nervous system had been unplugged from my conscious will, held in a state of absolute, profound stillness. It wasn't a threatening paralysis, but a peaceful one, as if a gentle hand was resting on my soul, telling me to simply be present. 27 of your Earth cycles we have observed you, a voice said. It wasn't a sound that traveled through the air. It was pure meaning, delivered directly into the center of my mind. We have watched you repeat the same patterns of resistance. The voice was calm, ancient, and filled with a compassion so vast it almost brought me to tears. Your planet calls bankruptcy what is merely an imbalance of the creative frequency. I struggled to form a thought, a question. You use words to build your prison. The being continued, raising a hand that was as elegant as its form. It had 6 long, tapering fingers that moved with a slow, deliberate grace. And you used the same words, day after day, to reinforce its bars. When I finally managed to push a single thought forward, it was just a faint whisper in my own mind. Asterisk who? What are you? Asterisk, I am Lyrian, the voice replied, an observer of the source consciousness. And I have come because your call finally reached the correct frequency. My mind reeled with confusion and denial. Asterisk, I didn't call anyone. Asterisk Lyrian tilted its head slightly, an expression that might have been a lipless smile forming on its luminous face. Every thought is a call. Every emotion is a broadcast. Every deeply held certainty is each syllable was a strand, and together they formed a brittle, gray latticework, a cage of my own making that settled over me. Another scene appeared. I was on the phone with my ex-wife, Sarah, arguing about a late child support payment. There's never enough money, Sarah. It just disappears. And again, I saw the words become form. They shot out of me like tiny, sharp projectiles, embedding themselves in the energetic field around me, reinforcing the bars of the cage, making it thicker, stronger. Every repetition was another weld on the structure of my prison. What you call money, Lyrian's voice echoed in my mind, a calm counterpoint to the painful images, is a dense symbol for creative energy. Your species has become obsessed with the symbol, forgetting the energy it represents entirely. You chase paper reflections in a river, while ignoring the current that carries them. As he spoke, Lyrian extended his other hand into the open air of my room. He didn't seem to be grabbing for anything. Instead, he simply held his hand open, and the very substance of the room, the particles of dust dancing in his light, the stray photons from the street lamp outside began to gather. They swirled, coalescing like iron filings to a magnet, braiding themselves together with impossible speed and precision. In a matter of seconds, a perfectly formed $100 bill rested in his palm. It was not a projection, it was solid. It was real. He offered it to me. My hand trembled as I took it. The paper was crisp, the ink was raised, and it was warm to the touch, vibrating with a low, almost imperceptible hum. It felt more real than any money I had ever held. How? How did you do that? My voice was a choked whisper. I created nothing, Lyrian explained. I simply organized that which was already present, aligning it to a specific frequency. You do the same thing in every moment. You are just organizing the particles into a pattern you call lack. You are a master creator, Pedro Navarro. You have simply perfected the art of creating what you do not want. His words struck me with the force of a physical blow. Suddenly, a thought, sharp and painful, pierced through my awe. An unpaid invoice. It was on my desk, under a pile of other final notices. A supplier, a good man who had trusted me, was owed $3,422 for materials I'd used before my business collapsed. The shame was a familiar, bitter taste in my mouth. Lyrian's head tilted. He knew. Focus on the exact amount, he instructed, his voice gentle but firm. $3,422, I said, the number feeling like a mountain in my throat. Good. Now, you will not ask for it. You will not hope for it. You will not beg for it. Those are frequencies of absence. You will declare it as already manifest, and you will feel the gratitude of that reality now. It felt insane, a child's game, but looking into those eyes that held swirling galaxies, I felt my cynicism crumble into dust. I closed my eyes, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and a wild, unfamiliar spark of possibility. I tried to follow his instruction. I took a deep breath. This value is already in my hands. I stammered internally. The words felt hollow. Fake. Feel the gratitude, Lyrian's voice insisted in my mind. Remember a time you felt profound relief and thankfulness. Anchor yourself in that feeling. I searched my memory, past the years of failure, and found it. The moment the doctor told me my daughter Mia's fever had broken after a terrible illness. The wave of relief that had washed over me, so powerful it made my knees weak. I held on to that feeling, that pure, unconditional gratitude. I let it flood my body. And into that feeling, I spoke the words again, this time with a sliver of conviction. I am so deeply grateful for this abundance. I am grateful for the $3,422 that has manifested perfectly in my life. A warmth spread from my chest outwards, a pleasant, tingling heat that relaxed every tense muscle in my body. It was a feeling of peace, of completion. Now, Lyrian's voice was soft. Open your eyes. I did, and as my eyes adjusted to the silver blue light, My phone, sitting on the nightstand, buzzed. The screen lit up. It was a notification from my banking app. My stomach turned to ice. My hands shook as I picked it up. The message read, "Instant transfer received. $3,422.00." I stared, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. Below the amount was a name, an old client from 4 years ago, and a short note. "Peter, found this in our old accounting records. An invoice that was approved but never paid. So sorry for the oversight. Hope you're well." I looked up at Lyrian, my eyes wide with a terror that was slowly turning into a mind-shattering awe. This is a coincidence. The lipless smile formed on his luminous face again. There are no coincidences in a universe of precise energetic law. There is only perfect synchronicity between an inner command and an outer reflection. This, Peter, is the first key to the language of money. Declaration in the present tense, and gratitude felt in advance. This small victory felt like a tremor, a tiny crack in the dam of my lifelong beliefs. But Lyrian's eyes, vast and ancient, told me the earthquake was yet to come. The test that would save my home, or shatter my sanity completely, was next. The next morning, the first rays of sunlight felt different. They didn't just illuminate the dust in my apartment. They seemed to carry a new kind of information. Lyrian was present not as a solid form, but as a subtle intensification of the light in the room, a low hum just beneath the threshold of hearing. The mortgage payment. His voice entered my mind as I was making my morning coffee, the same cheap, bitter brand as yesterday, but it tasted different now. The sum is $27,500. A larger number. Your belief system has more resistance to it. It considers it an impossibility. He was right. The $3,422 was a shock, but my mind could still file it under freak coincidence. But over $27,000? That was a fortress. "We are not going to break down the walls of the fortress," Lyrian continued. "We are simply going to tune to a frequency where the fortress does not exist. We will reconfigure the field." He instructed me to sit on the floor in the center of the room. Assume the posture your people call the lotus. The physical geometry of your body is an antenna. It affects energetic conduction. I had never done this before. My legs were stiff, my back ached, and I felt ridiculous. The discomfort was a powerful anchor to my old reality. But I persisted, clumsily folding my legs until I was in a stable, if awkward, position. "Close your eyes," he commanded. "Now, see the number 27,500 in your mind's eye. Do not see it as a debt. Do not see it as a problem to be solved. See it only as a sequence of symbols." I did as he asked. The numbers appeared in my mind, dark and menacing, like the bars of a cell. Now, his voice was a gentle guide. Let those symbols dissolve. Watch them melt from solid, heavy iron into liquid, golden light. This is not a debt. It is a frequency of abundance that is already present in the universe. I focused, and slowly, the image began to shift. The hard edges of the numbers softened, bled, and transformed into a warm, shimmering pool of sunlight in my mind. The feeling of dread associated with the number began to recede. Now the breath. It is the carrier wave of intention. You will breathe in a triangular pattern. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. This is the rhythm of stable manifestation. For the next 20 minutes, this was my entire world. The count, the breath, the image of golden light. My mind, which was usually a storm of anxious thoughts, slowly grew still, calmed by the simple, steady rhythm. As I focused, I could hear Lyrian's hum grow slightly louder, a low-frequency chant that seemed to vibrate up from the floorboards, through my body, and into the core of my bones. "The field is prepared," his voice announced. "Now, declare the creative sentence." I took one final, deep breath, and with a voice that felt both mine and not mine, a voice that was firm, clear, and held no trace of hope or doubt. Only certainty. He asked what I was doing, and I gave him a vague but honest answer about being a freelance consultant between projects. His eyes lit up. "You're kidding me," he said, leaning in closer. "I've just launched a new tech startup. We've got the funding, we've got the product, but our go-to-market strategy is a complete mess. I was just saying to my partner yesterday that we need someone who thinks like you used to. You were always brilliant at seeing the whole chessboard." He paused. "Would you have any interest in consulting for us?" 2 hours later, I was sitting in his sleek, modern office, a signed contract in front of me. They needed a strategic plan, fast, and they were offering a consultancy agreement with an immediate advance payment of $30,000. He signed the document, pushed it across the desk to me, and then typed furiously on his laptop. A moment later, my phone buzzed. Another bank notification. The transfer was already done. I walked home in a complete daze, the city streets feeling like a dreamscape. The amount was more than I needed. It had arrived through a channel I never could have predicted, in a way that felt utterly natural and completely impossible at the same time. When I opened the door to my apartment, Lyrian was there, a calm beacon of blue light in the fading afternoon. Before I could even speak, his voice filled my mind. "This was not luck, Peter. This was not a fortunate accident. It was alignment. The universe is not random. It is a precision instrument. It does not respond to your needs or your fears. It responds to your frequency. Today, you spoke the language it understands." I had the proof in my bank account, a modern miracle born of breath and intention. But a desperate, human need began to bubble up inside me, the need to tell someone, to make it real not just in my world, but in the world of men. That single decision would lead me directly into the heart of the storm. By the fourth night of Lyrian's presence, I felt like a man walking on water who was terrified to look down. The evidence was irrefutable. My overdue bill was paid, and the money to save my house was sitting in my bank account. Yet it all felt fragile, a beautiful dream I might wake from at any moment. I needed an anchor in the solid, tangible world I had always known. I needed validation. And so, I went to the most rational, grounded person I knew, my younger brother, Richard. Richard lived in a minimalist suburban house that was as impeccably organized and logically structured as his own mind. Everything had its place. There were no mysteries, only problems with solutions yet to be calculated. He greeted me at the door, his posture rigid, his analytical eyes peering at me over the rim of his modern, expensive glasses. We sat in his sterile living room, on a cold leather sofa, a cup of his artisanal coffee in my hands. The air smelled of clean linen and quiet judgment. I tried to explain what had happened, my voice faltering as I heard the words coming out of my own mouth. I spoke of the light, the voice in my head, the breathing exercises, the impossible synchronicities. He listened patiently, with the quiet condescension of a doctor listening to a delusional patient. When I finished, he took a slow sip of his coffee, placed the cup down on a coaster with mathematical precision, and then he laughed. It wasn't a cruel laugh, but it was worse. It was a pitying laugh. "So, let me get this straight," he said, adjusting his glasses in that familiar, irritating way. "A 7-foot-tall, light-being alien appeared in your bedroom and taught you a cosmic secret to manifest money out of thin air. I know how it sounds, Rick, but the money for the mortgage, it's real. I can show you my bank statement." "I'm sure it is," he said, his tone placating. "Peter, you've always been suggestible. You're under an incredible amount of stress. The business collapsing, the divorce, the debt. It's a perfect storm. The human mind is capable of extraordinary things to protect itself. It can create coincidences, see patterns that aren't there. It can even hallucinate." His wife, Martha, walked in, overhearing the last part of our conversation. She put a gentle hand on my shoulder, her face a mask of practiced concern. "Peter, honey, have you considered talking to a professional? I have a wonderful therapist who specializes in cases of extreme burnout and financial stress. A wave of cold shame washed over me. I felt my newfound reality begin to crack. The lightness I had felt for the past 2 days was replaced by the familiar, heavy weight of my old self. They weren't trying to be malicious. They were trying to help the man they had always known, the failure, the dreamer, the one who was always on the verge of collapse. They were trying to pull me back into the prison they called reality. I left their house feeling smaller than I had in days. The walk home was a descent back into hell. Every word they said echoed in my head. Asterisk suggestible. Hallucination. Burnout. Asterisk maybe they were right. Maybe the stress had finally broken my mind. Maybe Lyrian was just a sophisticated figment of my desperate imagination. When I arrived back at my apartment, the silver blue light was gone. For a heart-stopping moment, I thought it was over. But then I saw him, sitting calmly in my worn-out armchair, his form more subdued, as if matching my own diminished energy. He didn't need me to speak. He could read the doubt and despair radiating from me like a fog. Doubt is the only true barrier between you and your creation. His voice resonated in my mind, softer now, but with an unshakable core of truth. It is the static that scrambles the signal. Every time you allow the consensus opinion of another to define your experience, you hand over your creative power to them. You are letting them write the code for your reality. But how can I be sure? I asked, my voice cracking with vulnerability. How do I know I'm not just inventing all of this? How do I know that you are real? Lyrian rose from the chair. The light emanating from him grew brighter, filling the room once more with its impossible glow. He glided towards me, his movements as fluid as water, and placed his long, luminous hand over the center of my chest. It did not feel like a physical touch. A gentle, powerful current of pure information flowed from him into me. It wasn't images or words. It was a direct, instantaneous knowing. My mind was flooded. I experienced the birth of galaxies, not as an observer, but as the consciousness that witnessed them. I felt symphonies of light composing themselves into new forms of life on 1,000 different worlds. I understood the architecture of dimensions built not on matter, but on pure thought. I was shown, in a single, timeless moment, that the physical reality my brother Richard clung to was just one, thin, fragile page in an infinite library of existence. The experience lasted an eternity in a single second. When it was over, I was on my knees, breathless, tears streaming down my face. The doubt was gone, burned away by the sheer scale of the truth I had just been shown. The consensual reality of your planet is a powerful frequency, but it is only one, Lyrian explained, his hand retreating. The language of money I am teaching you is merely a dialect of the universal language of creation itself. Those who are not ready to expand their perception will always try to shrink yours back down to the limits of their own. It is not malice. It is fear. I got to my feet, my body still humming with residual energy. I took a deep, steadying breath. In that moment, I made a choice. I would no longer seek validation from a world that couldn't see what I was seeing. I would walk this path, even if I had to walk it alone. My home was safe, but the true debt, the weight of over $380,000 that had crushed my soul and destroyed my family, still remained. And Lyrian's next thought confirmed my greatest fear and my deepest hope. It was time to face the ghost of my past and not just pay it, but erase it completely. On the 5th day, the air in my apartment felt heavy with anticipation. The mortgage was paid, my mind was clear, but the true mountain remained. The $380,000 debt wasn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It was a ghost that haunted every room, a weight that had bent my spine and broken my family. It was the author of my failure. I looked at Lyrian, who was a column of serene blue light near the window. He turned his awareness to me, and the light intensified. That which you call the past is not a fixed monument, His voice entered my mind. It is a fluid, energetic recording. And you are holding the needle that plays the song of your... I saw my business failing, the arguments with my wife, the day I signed the loan documents that felt like a lifeline, but were actually an anchor. But Lyrian pushed me further, deeper. And then, I found it. A memory so sharp, so painful, it felt like it had happened yesterday. I am 12 years old, sitting at the kitchen table. My father is staring at a pile of unpaid bills, his face a mask of quiet desperation. I had broken a neighbor's window playing baseball and had been too scared to tell him. He had just found out. He wasn't angry. He was worse. He was disappointed. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a weariness that a child should never have to witness. A man is only as good as his word, Peter, he said, his voice low and heavy. And a man who owes is a man whose word is broken. A man in debt has no real value. I felt the words land in my small chest like stones. In that moment, a catastrophic equation was coded into my being. Debt equals worthlessness. My value as a human being was now chained to my balance sheet. You have found the anchor point. Lyrian's voice was a gentle echo in the timeless space. The event is neutral. It is your emotional interpretation that gave it power. Now, you will rewrite the code. Step into that memory not as a victim, but as the creator you are now. Speak to the boy. Heal him. I visualized myself, the man I am today, walking into that dimly lit kitchen. I knelt beside the terrified 12-year-old version of myself. I could feel his shame radiating in waves. I placed a hand on his shoulder. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with confusion. "It's not your fault," I whispered to him, my voice thick with an emotion that transcended time. "Your worth is not in what you have or what you owe. It's in your heart. It's in your breath. You are infinite. You are abundance itself. This debt is an experience, not an identity." I felt a profound shift inside me, a loosening of a knot I hadn't even known was there. The image of my father's face softened, his words losing their cruel edge, becoming just the sad pronouncement of a man trapped in his own limiting beliefs. "The anchor is lifted," Lyrian said. "Now, from this new point of origin, declare your present reality." I stood tall within the circle of light, the energy humming through me. I took a deep breath, and with a voice that was clear and absolute, a voice free from the chains of a 35-year-old wound, I spoke. "I am the source of all value. My worth is inherent and unconditional. I hereby decree the complete and harmonious dissolution of all past financial debts and obligations. I am a clear field of abundance, attracting perfect and graceful solutions. My natural frequency is prosperity. My natural state is freedom." A wave of heat, so intense it made me gasp, washed through me from head to toe. It felt like a fever breaking. When it passed, I was left with a feeling of absolute, untroubled lightness. I opened my eyes. The circle of light was gone. The sounds of the city returned. It was just my apartment again, but everything felt new. The next morning, my phone rang. The caller ID showed a name I hadn't seen in 2 years. Carl Mendez, my largest and most aggressive creditor. My old panic flared for a split second before the new calm washed it away. I answered. "Peter?" "It's Carl," he said. His voice was different, softer. "Listen, this is going to sound strange. I was reviewing your file yesterday, getting ready to move forward with the lawyers, and I just couldn't do it." I remained silent. He continued, a little awkwardly. "My father, he passed away last year. He built this business from nothing. Last night, I had a dream about him. He was in his old workshop, and he just looked at me and said, 'The purpose of money is to build things, son, not to tear people down.' I woke up this morning, and I knew I had to call you. Let's work something out." He offered me a settlement. To forgive 80% of the total amount if I could pay the remaining 20% over the next 6 months. I was speechless. Over the next week, the impossible happened again and again. 3 other major creditors called with similar stories. One had a sudden change of heart after a conversation with his daughter. Another decided to write off all old debts as part of a corporate restructuring he'd been putting off for years. Within 10 days, the mountain of $380,000 had been reduced to a manageable hill of just over $75,000, with payment plans I could easily afford with my new consulting contract. When I recounted this to Lyrian, he simply inclined his head, the starlight in his eyes seeming to twinkle. You see, Peter, the language of creation does not work by force. It works by harmony. You did not manipulate anyone's free will. You simply changed the song you were broadcasting. And in their own time, in their own way, their instruments tuned themselves to your new melody. The solution was always there. It was simply waiting for you to broadcast the frequency that would allow it to exist. The evidence was undeniable. The chains were broken. But I was about to learn that freedom from debt was only the first step. True abundance was something else entirely. On the penultimate night of Lyrian's visit, he led me not to the center of my room for an exercise, but to the small, cracked concrete patio behind my apartment building. We sat in the cool night air, under a sky full of stars that seemed impossibly bright and close. Lyrian's form was more vibrant than I had ever seen it, a shimmering silver-blue presence that seemed to drink in the moonlight and radiate it back with an added geometric perfection. The low hum he emitted was no longer just a sound. It was a feeling, a pressure of peace against my skin. You have learned the first key. Declaration from a state of gratitude. He began, his voice a calm river in my mind. You have learned the second key, the recalibration of causative belief. Now, it is time for the third and final key, the one that makes the other two obsolete. It is the key of pure being. He raised his long, luminous hand, and between us, in the empty air, an image began to form. It was a structure of pure light, impossibly complex and beautiful. It looked like a cosmic tree, its roots drawing energy from a central, pulsing core of brilliant white light, and its branches spreading out into infinity, each one birthing galaxies, stars, and worlds. Your scientists seek a single source particle, Lyrian communicated. They are looking in the wrong direction. The source is not the smallest thing. It is the only thing. What you are is a unique focal point of that one consciousness. A single leaf on this infinite tree. He brought the image closer. I could see now that the light flowing through the tree was constant, effortless, and endless. It never diminished, it only changed form. This is the true nature of abundance, he said. It is not a resource you must gather or earn. It is the very substance of existence, flowing through you at all times. The fundamental error of your species is to see yourself as a bucket that must be filled, when you are, in fact, the ocean itself expressing as a wave. And in that instant, something shattered within me. It wasn't a thought. It wasn't an idea. It was a perceptual shift so total and profound that my breath caught in my chest. All the techniques, the breathing, the visualizations, the declarations, they were not tools to get something. They were tools to help me remove my own resistance to what I already was. They were a scaffolding to help me climb back to the truth of my own nature. I didn't need the scaffolding anymore. I wasn't a man trying to manifest money. I was the infinite source of all things, temporarily focused into the experience of being a man. A laugh escaped my lips, a sound of pure, unadulterated liberation. The weight of the world, of my history, of my name, dissolved into nothingness. I looked at my hands, and for the first time, I didn't see a failed businessman. I saw stardust and intention. I saw the same light that was sitting before me in the form of Lyrian. I spoke, but the words were not mine. They were the universe speaking to itself. I am not a seeker of abundance. I am abundance itself, observing its own flow. My body tingled with a current of pure joy as I said it. I do not ask for prosperity. I radiate prosperity as my natural state of being. The air around me seemed to shimmer in response. My circumstances are not the cause of my state. My state is the cause of my circumstances. With each declaration, the line between me and the world blurred. His form was less defined, more ethereal, the blue-silver light of his body seeming to merge and bleed into the surrounding air. It was as if this physical dimension could no longer fully contain him. My time in this density is complete, his voice announced, gentle but final. The seed of knowing has been planted within your field. It has already begun to sprout. An unexpected wave of sadness washed over me, a profound sense of loss. After everything I had been through, I was losing my guide, my mentor, the being who had pulled me from the deepest abyss. You're leaving? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. But I feel like I've just begun. There is so much more to learn. There is nothing more to teach, Peter, he responded, his essence shimmering. There is only to live. The goal of the teacher is to become unnecessary. You have remembered that the language you sought is your own native tongue. He glided towards me, his movements leaving trails of faint light in the air. He raised his hands, and between his palms, a point of intense blue light condensed, spun, and solidified. It folded in on itself, forming a small, multifaceted object that looked like a geometrically perfect crystal. It pulsed with a soft, internal light. It floated from his hands and came to rest gently in my open palm. It was cool to the touch, yet it sent a warmth spreading up my arm. It was astonishingly light, as if it had no physical mass, only a tangible presence. This is not a charm or an object of power, Lyrian explained. Power is never external. This is a fragment of crystallized frequency, a harmonic reminder. When the noise of your world causes you to forget, hold it. Feel its resonance. It will help you remember your own true note. I closed my fingers around it, feeling the steady, silent vibration. It felt like holding a piece of a star. Remember the truth of flow in your world, Peter, he continued, his form becoming ever more transparent. Your people have a saying, money can't buy happiness. This is a half-truth. It is closer to say that money cannot exist without the frequency of happiness, of joy, of peace. The feeling state is the cause. The material form is the effect. The frequency must always come first. He was beginning to dissolve. His defined edges softened and frayed, unraveling into pure light and information, merging with the very atmosphere of the room. A profound gratitude filled me, so immense it left no room for sadness. His final words were not spoken into my mind, but seemed to emanate from everywhere at once, from the walls, from the floor, from within my own heart. You are not a receiver of abundance. The light in the room brightened to a soft, brilliant blue. You are its transmitter. And then, he was gone. The hum ceased. The air returned to normal. The room was just my room again. I stood there for a long time in the quiet, the only evidence of his visit being the impossible, softly glowing crystal in my hand, and the complete and total transformation of the man holding it. The prison had vanished, not because the walls had been torn down, but because I finally understood they had never been there at all. 6 months have passed since those 72 hours that dismantled my world and rebuilt it from the inside out. The first thing I notice, in the quiet moments of my new life, is the quality of the silence. It's no longer the heavy, suffocating silence of an empty apartment at 3 a.m., filled with the ghosts of unpaid bills. It's a living silence, a spaciousness that holds potential, like the stillness of a calm ocean just before dawn. My world didn't explode in a shower of gold coins. It simply realigned. The debt is gone. Not through a lottery win, but through a series of synchronous events that felt as natural and inevitable as a river finding its way to the sea. The consulting contract with Michael Torres expanded, then expanded again. Old clients, ones I had written off years ago, reappeared with new projects, speaking of a renewed energy they felt in my work. The final debt settlements were paid off not with a sense of relief, but with a quiet, profound gratitude for the lessons the struggle had taught me. I now live in a small house with a garden. It's modest, but the back door opens to grass and soil, not cracked concrete. It's here, in the evenings, that I often sit. The air is cool, and the stars seem just as impossibly bright as they did on that night with Lyrian. I still have the crystal. It rests on my desk during the day, and sometimes I'll pick it up, not as a charm for good luck, but as a tuning fork for the soul. I close my fingers around its smooth, complex facets. It is still cool to the touch, still impossibly light, and it still emits that silent, steady vibration. When the noise of a busy day, the lingering echoes of old habits, or the frantic energy of the world begin to creep in, I hold it. I close my eyes, and I don't ask for anything. I just listen. I feel its resonance, a perfect, unwavering note of pure being, and I allow my own inner frequency to match it. It is a tool for remembering. My relationship with my children, Lucas and Sophia, has been the most beautiful bloom in this new garden. Before, I was a ghost at my own family gatherings, my mind constantly churning through financial calculations and escape plans. My laughter was hollow, my attention divided. Now, when my son tells me about the spaceship he designed with building blocks, I am there. I see the intricate details, I hear the passion in his voice, I feel the boundless universe of his imagination. When my daughter shows me a drawing, her face beaming with pride, I see not a child's doodle, but the pure act of creation itself. We don't have more things, we have more of me, and that has made all the difference. Even my connection with my ex-wife has found a new, respectful peace. The anger and blame, which were always rooted in fear and lack, have dissolved. We are no longer defined by the failure of our marriage, but by our shared love for our children. We are partners in their well-being, and the harmony of that partnership is a quiet miracle I cherish every day. I tried to tell my brother, Richard, about what happened. I didn't mention a blue-silver being this time. I spoke of a profound shift in perception, of learning to operate from a state of trust instead of fear. He listened, adjusted his glasses, and said, "Well, whatever you're doing, it's working. You seem lighter." He doesn't need to understand the source of the change to acknowledge the reality of it. And that, I've learned, is enough. Some nights, when the world is asleep and the only sound is the rustling of leaves, I can feel a subtle shift in the atmosphere. The air seems to become more viscous, more present. In those moments, I feel the faint, familiar hum that I first felt in my room. I look up at the vast, dark canvas above, and I know that what Lyrian represented was not an alien visitor, but a forgotten part of myself, a reflection of a consciousness that is everywhere, in everything, all at once. I smile, not at him, but with him. A silent, cosmic applause for the game of existence. The secret language of money was never about money. It was about realizing that the universe doesn't respond to our requests. It responds to our resonance. It doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we are. My state of being was a prayer of lack, and the universe, in its infinite and impartial love, answered that prayer with perfect precision. Now, my state of being is a quiet song of gratitude, and my world has simply arranged itself to match the music. I am not a receiver of abundance. I am its transmitter. And you, who are listening to this story right now, have you ever wondered why this particular collection of words found its way to your ears at this exact moment in your life? Do you believe it is merely a product of a digital algorithm, a random string of code? Or could it be a perfect synchronicity, an echo of a question you have been silently asking in the deepest corridors of your own heart? I invite you to do one thing. Don't believe my story. Just observe your own. Observe the patterns that repeat in your life, the cycles of feast and famine, of joy and struggle. They are not random. They are a language. Listen to the frequency of the words you speak. both aloud to others and silently to yourself? Are they building a world of freedom or a prison of limitation? Every word is a command. Feel the power of your certainties. What do you know to be true about yourself, about money,